Long before the rise of the Aztecs, before the Maya reached their classic zenith, and centuries before Europeans set foot in the Americas, there stood a city so vast, so powerful, and so enigmatic that later civilizations would call it Teotihuacan, the place where the gods were born. Located in the northeastern basin of Mexico, Teotihuacan emerged around the 2nd century BC. It did not begin as a modest village, but as a rapidly expanding urban experiment, birthed in an era of volatility. It is believed that refugees fleeing volcanic eruptions in the southern basin sought sanctuary in this high-altitude valley, banding together to survive. Over the next several centuries, their settlement would grow into one of the largest cities on Earth, rivaling the contemporary capitals of Rome and Chang'an in both scale and complexity. At its height, around the 4th century AD, Teotihuacan covered more than 20 square kilometers, with an estimated population ranging from 100,000 to over 200,000 inhabitants, an extraordinary number for the ancient world. Its monumental architecture, urban planning, and influence would shape Mesoamerican civilization for more than a millennium. Yet despite its grandeur, Teotihuacan left behind no deciphered written language. Its rulers remain unnamed, its political system is still debated, and for generations, scholars could only speculate about who the Teotihuacanos truly were. Were they a single ethnic group, a confederation of tribes, or an imperial elite ruling over a subjugated populace? All this remained a mystery for centuries, until now. In a bioarchaeological study led by researchers at the Toho University School of Medicine, scientists have begun to uncover the genetic identity of the people of Teotihuacan, using one of the most powerful tools in modern science, ancient DNA analysis. This research represents the first successful reconstruction of complete mitochondrial genomes from individuals buried in Teotihuacan, a feat long thought nearly impossible. The basin of Mexico is a harsh environment for the preservation of organic history. The fluctuating humidity, the intense heat, and the distinct chemistry of the volcanic soil act as a slow-motion acid, degrading the delicate double helix of DNA over centuries. Previous attempts to sequence genomes from this region often resulted in fragmented, unusable data. They focused on mitochondrial DNA, the genetic code passed exclusively from mothers to their children. This specific lineage offers valuable information into maternal ancestry, population origins, and kinship networks that stretches back through time, unbroken. The samples analyzed in this study came from specific, recently excavated burials chosen to provide a cross-section of the city's life. Most of the individuals were recovered from the La Ventilla district, a well-excavated apartment compound known to be a neighborhood of artisans and stoneworkers. These were the everyday citizens who lived in the bustling residential blocks. Not all were civilians. One sample came from the Temple of the Feathered Serpent, a sacrificial victim buried beneath the pyramid as an offering to the gods of rain and war. The results revealed the genetic map of the classic period. All individuals belonged to mitochondrial haplogroups A2, B2, or D1. In genetics, a haplogroup is essentially a massive extended family clan, a group of people who share a common ancestor from thousands of years ago. The haplogroups A, B, C, and D, together with X, are the founding lineages of the Americas. They are the genetic signatures of the very first bands of hunter-gatherers who crossed into the Americas during the late Ice Age, either via the Bering Land Bridge from Northeast Asia, via the sea, or some other route. The debate is still ongoing. Finding these groups confirms that the Teotihuacanos were descendants of the first peoples of the Americas, with no unexpected foreign origins. Among these, haplogroup A2 was the most prevalent in the Teotihuacan samples. But the study went deeper than these broad categories. By analyzing the specific sub-lineages, the smaller younger branches on the family tree, the researchers found that the Teotihuacan individuals clustered most closely with what geneticists call the Centro-Mesoamerican population group. This distinction is critical. Genetic studies of indigenous Mexico generally find two major clusters. First, there's the Pan-American cluster, which represents a broad genetic signal found across North and South America. Second, there's the Central Mesoamerican cluster, which is specific to the distinct cultural zone of central Mexico. As the researchers explained, placing Teotihuacan firmly within the Central Mesoamerican cluster suggests that the core population was deeply local. Despite the city's reputation as a New York of the ancient world, a place that attracted immigrants from far-flung regions, the people who built the city were not mysterious outsiders or foreign conquerors. They were the organic outgrowth of the region's indigenous history. However, the study also revealed a fascinating nuance. While the general population fit into this local Central Mexican box, the diversity of the sublineages was immense. To explain this simply, all the people belong to the same tree, the core genetics. But the study found that the individuals belong to many different specific branches or sublineages of that tree. This supports the archaeological view that Teotihuacan was a multi-ethnic city. It implies that while people were from the general region, they migrated to the city from many different specific but generally nearby towns, valleys, and villages, bringing their distinct local genetic branches to mix in the metropolis. But genetics alone tells only half the story. To understand how these people lived, the researchers turned to stable isotope analysis. This technique operates on the principle that you are what you eat. As the body builds bone and tooth enamel, it absorbs chemical elements from food. Specifically, the researchers looked at carbon and nitrogen isotopes. Measuring these isotopes is more like reading a cumulative receipt of everything a person ate over the last decade of their life. The isotopic evidence revealed a heavy, almost singular reliance on C4 plants. In nature, most plants, like wheat, rice, or trees, use a photosynthetic process called C3, but distinct tropical grasses, most notably maize or corn, use a process called C4. This different process leaves a heavier fingerprint of carbon-13 in the bones of the people who eat it. The levels found in the Teotihuacan skeletons were so high that they suggest a diet overwhelmingly dominated by corn. Maize was not just food, it was their identity, it was their economy. To support a population of over 100,000 people in a semi-arid highland valley required a mastery of hydraulic engineering. Around 550 AD, however, the great city entered a period of violent decline. Large-scale fires swept through the ceremonial core. The temples were torched and statues were smashed. Interestingly, the fires were selective. They targeted the elite palaces and administrative centers, suggesting an internal uprising. The common people, perhaps tired of the hierarchy, may have turned against their leaders. The population dispersed, the canals silted up, and the apartment compounds fell into ruin. But, as this study proves, the Teotihuacanos did not vanish. Their city died, but their genes survived. The lineages found in these ancient samples, haplogroups A2, B2, and D1, are still present in the indigenous populations of Mexico today. The Mazawa, the Otomi, and the Nahua are the descendants of the Teotihuacanos, and they still walk the highlands of central Mexico. Later civilizations, including the Aztecs who arrived centuries later, wandered the silent ruins in awe. They believed the gods had gathered there to sacrifice themselves to set the sun and moon in motion. They gave the city its name, Teotihuacan, and wove it into their myths. Now, thanks to the precision of genetic science, we are stripping away the myth to reveal the reality. The birthplace of the gods is finally revealed to be something even more familiar and comprehensible, a city of humans. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed, consider liking the video, subscribing to the channel, and sharing your thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, farewell.